Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea with TPS, informal conversations with thought leaders in India and abroad. Today, our distinguished guest is Mr.S.N. Raghuchandran Nair, who has become the face of the people of Trivandrum to rebuild the city. He is now the president of the Trivandrum Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and right in the middle of all these activities. He is involved not only in the chamber, he has several other hats, and he is a constant presence socially and culturally on the Trivandrum scene. He was born and brought up in Malaysia but came to Kerala. He'll tell us that story. And 38 years he has been in construction. In fact, I remember buying a flat from him for the first time in Trivandrum when apartments were built. So our friendship goes a long, long, long way. He has adopted Kerala as his home, and he has become the face of the aspirations of the Trivandrum people. He voices the concerns of the people of Trivandrum, regardless of political affiliations, and he represents the case for good governance and participation of the people in the development of Trivandrum. Like Lieutenant Colonel Godavarma Raja, he is interested in the slowest of sport, that is golf, to the fastest of sport, which is flying. So his interests are as varied as that. And that is why he is behind many of these organizations. And not only that, he is a friend of everyone and a most helpful figure. Thank you, Raghu, for joining me on this conversation today. Let us start with this question as to what brought you to Kerala.
Thank you, Sri Jada. It's so nice of you to probably take up this topic, which is something which is lacking in Trivandrum. Fundamentally, I was born and brought up in Malaysia. So my parents were there. My father was running a school, and mother is a housekeeping part of it. She was looking after the domestic affairs. And I've got only a brother. Both of us, difference between us is only 1 year old. We did our studies in the public school, government public school. And I did my GC, that is the Senior Cambridge O level there. And after completing that, most of my friends, which I built up during the period, because during that time, I was also the head boy of the school. And also was captaining the school team and the state team, school team at the time, hockey, I play hockey. So I was captaining the team. And most of my friends were at the time planning or probably they were already getting admissions into Australia, New Zealand, and probably to England. And I also was probably looking at that. But somehow my mother was not very inclined to that because she was fearing that most of the Malayali families who have their children studying in foreign countries, they come back married with some other community or maybe some other nationals. And she's slightly worried about that. But I was quite sure because my father had given us a lot of freedom in our young age, including my mother. But I was trying to convince her. But ultimately, my father said, "Look, you have not been to India before." Because till the age of 18, I have not visited India because my father was very busy. So we were all confined to the Malaysia, Singapore, that region. So finally, I told my father, "If that's your wish, I'll go." And that's how he said, "No, I'll send you to a place called Bangalore, which is a garden city. You may really like it." So I said, "No, if you're sending me, send me to Kerala because there's a place where you are talking about and you are born there." Finally, he talked to his friend, and I got admission to the St. Xavier's College in Trivandrum at Tumba. I came to India in August 4th, 1974, and landed in Kerala on August 5th, 1975. 1974, August 5th, 1974. And later, 2 days later, I went to the St. Xavier's College, where I was to take the pre-degree admission, because even though I finished my 11th standard, unfortunately, Kerala University does not permit us go to the degree course. So you have
to repeat it.
Yeah, you have to go through the whole process of doing again the pre-degree because they said you have to take a second language. Unfortunately, I don't know Malayalam, I don't know Hindi, so I was supposed to take French. And they said you can join the second. I can
French in Trivandrum. French in Trivandrum. Okay.
Yeah, Trivandrum. And this is in Trivandrum. I'm talking of Zimbabwe. And they said you can take French, but I said that's the only way. And they said we want concession we can give is you can join the second year and write the first year and second year together, which I was not confident. And I said I'll go through the first year. And that's how I came here and was put in the hostel. The father of the principal was Father Aikra, which is still one person I remember every day in my prayers, and who was really one of the first person Guru I met in India. At the time, I still remember that when I filled up the form along with a friend of mine called Peter Benjamin, he's also from Malaysia. And while filling up the form, we handed over the duly filled up form to the principal, and we left a column vacant. And the principal was quite surprised that we didn't know what to fill up. So the column was none other than caste. Unfortunately, I didn't know my caste because that was not there in Malaysia. Because there they talk only race, either Indian, Chinese, or Malay. So I told principal father.
But you had Nair name in your Nair was name in your name, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know that was a caste.
The caste name. You didn't realize that. I see.
So what? The problem is when I told the principal that sorry sir, sorry father, I don't know what it is. So he looked at it and said, "You don't know what it is." He said, "This is essential for the Kerala University. They require this column to be filled." So what I did is, okay, then I said, "What do I do?" Then the father looked at the name and said, "You are Nair." So I said, "That's my last name." No, you write Nair. So unfortunately, my friend Peter Benjamin was with me. He did not hear that. He thought that all Malaysians are Nair. So his column also he wrote Nair. So the principal got annoyed with Peter Benjamin. And he said that, "How do you write Nair?" He said, "We are all from Malaysia." So he said, No. Where are you staying? So he couldn't explain. He said, "I was staying near the airport near Valyadura." "Oh, then you write Latin." So Peter Benjamin reluctantly said, "Sir, I am not taking Latin. I'm taking French." He said, "No, you write Latin for the time being." And that's it. So both of us came out really confused. It was a cultural shock for us. And we never knew what
identity confusion. Confusion of identity.
Confusion. Plus, it's totally, we are not used to these sort of things there in Malaysia. So anyway, we joined a hostel and we started getting used to it. Again, I lost all my friends in the school because I came here and started building up new friends in the hostel and the college. And there was no hockey team. I built up a hockey team. And subsequently, in the second year, the hockey team became the runners-up of the Kerala University. So I was selected to the Kerala University team and also the state team. So I was playing for the Kerala University state team. Subsequently, for the other, maybe about 4 or 5 years, I played for the state and university. And from there, my journey started in India. I picked up friends during the journey. And easily, I make friends with a lot of people. And basically, maybe because of sportsman attitude and thinking. So I look at people, I smile at them. Because that is what my school teachers have taught me, saying that always smile at people. And finally, from there, I moved to University College, where I went and picked up a course that nobody will pick up. So I asked them, "Do we have a course which is something different?" So they said there's a course called geology, but normally nobody don't take it. So I said, take it. So there the seats were only 14. So I picked up that course for BSc geology. And that's where I met a lot of my good friends who are still today a lot of bureaucrats, a lot of politicians. My seniors were Sri Balendra Menon. My politician seniors were Cherian Philip. And the cinema field people like Venu Nagavalli, all those people were all from University College. And Priyadar.
So you became a Trivandrum socialite at that time.
Slowly. It was just
an accident.
It was only an accident because most of it happened in the coffee house. There was a coffee house near the college. I think Srinjata knows that. And that coffee house is the cause of all this because that's where you socialize and you start meeting new people. And there we talk because those days there was no television, there was no FM radio, there was no computer, there's no mobile phone. The only entertainment you have is every Friday you wait for a new movie to come in Sri Kumar Theatre. It can be English movie or Hindi movie. We all go there and see the movie. That's how we used to.
28 paise, right?
Yeah, 28 paise. Exactly. And we normally don't have the money, so we have to sit in the front bench of that time, those days, the seats are the bench only. So you have to sit the front bench and see the movie. And slowly I came out of the college. And then I thought I'll pick up a job. So I went into a travel agency. That time there was only Kerala Travels and probably Najib was there. And there's a travel agency floated by the Poilakada group from Kollam Cashew Industry. I joined them. They wanted somebody who can speak English. So I joined them. I became a manager there for a short period. maybe 2 years. During that time, I got another job in Hindustan Liver. I was in Hindustan Liver working for some time, and I found that I felt sick in between. So during that time, an offer came from the geology department. I was reluctant to take up a government job. My mother was also pushing me hard because she's saying that you should take a government job. Even if you retire, you'll have pension to survive. Nobody looks up to you. That was the conclusion that I should take up a government job. And finally, I took up that job. I was in the geology department, and for almost 2-3 years, I found the job quite interesting, but there was a lot of issues in between because it's not a clean department. We had a lot of problems. I had a good officer who was very good. Finally, they found that that we were very strict. So the director at the time posted me to a forest to say that you know about germs. Why don't you do germs exploration? And during that time, I was spending a lot of time in the forest and looking at the newspaper. Found in one paper that one company is looking for a sales manager for a construction company in Trivandrum, and you have to apply to A. Ferguson's and Associates. So I applied for the thing, didn't know what company it was. They called me for an interview at Cochin. I went and joined. I went for the interview. There was a group discussion. There's a couple of things. And I remember during that time, along with me, Kiridam Munni was also part of the person who has come for an interview with this company. And finally, they took the second round, took me to Chennai, and finally I realized that I am being posted to a company called SI, or Southern Investments. And they said that
Southern Investment. That is where I met you. Yes.
Yeah, that was where I started. Then Southern Investment, basically, I didn't know. I thought it was an investment company. So then they told me that it's a construction. So I told them, look, I don't have any background of construction. And so they said, we are looking at people who do not have construction background, but we want people in the management background. So we will put you through all the construction training, and they put me into hectic training on estimation, quantity surveying, all sorts of things. And finally, they said that you're going to be posted to Trivandrum. And I was posted to Trivandrum because they picked up a property when S. Krishna Kumar sir, after his GCDA stint, he plotted a company called Venar Real Estate to put up flats in Jawaharnagar.
That is the Saraswati Nilayam.
That is Saraswati Nilayam. And Saraswati Nilayam, incidentally, Saraswati is Krishna Kumar sir's mother's name, and he put up a flat in that name. And that's how I was posted here in 84. I joined.
So since then, that means about 30 years you have been in, 38 years you have been in construction.
Yeah, 30, it's 84. May 1st, I took up the job here because till such time I was getting training in Chennai. And took up the job. From there, I started my journey into construction, started meeting people because a lot of people who used to come and buy flats. Flats was not very popular. Those days, the flats are sold at 250 rupees per square foot. A 2-bedroom flat was only 2.8 lakhs, and a 3-bedroom is only 3.5 lakhs. Is about 1,420, and a 2-bedroom 1,122 square feet.
So I think I paid 5 lakhs. I think
I remember. Yeah, you picked up a 1,420 square feet flat. At that time, it was 2H flat you picked up in Saraswati. And it's actually Vanada auntie who came and picked up the flat. I remember.
Yeah, she lived there for quite a few months.
Yeah, a few years. There, and I remember meeting everybody. That's how I started meeting people who really matters in society. And I remember.
But how was the business atmosphere? Business atmosphere at that time for business.
The business atmosphere that year.
Rather primitive, I suppose.
No, it was no, because that time I was more. They were sending me to follow up with sanctions and everything. So since you're only 27, 28 years old, most of the activity take you to the chief town planner's office, electricity board, to the corporation and all that. And basically, you find people. First of all, they don't understand what a flat is. Those days, there's no flats. So they couldn't understand anything about it, and it's always a lukewarm attitude because the name is deceptive because Southern Investments, they were thinking that it's a blade company because that time those days you have a lot of companies which are taking private finance, so they thought that I'm part of a private finance company, right? Because that time Samarias was there, Oriental Finance was there, TBR Fund was there. Most of the companies went bust during that period. So that was
those were the so-called blade companies, were they?
Blade companies, yeah. And at the time, I would say that when I wrote to them saying that a flat is coming up in Jawaharnagar, about 160 flats are coming. So when you plan for your water augmentation scheme or your electricity scheme, you should really factor this. So the reply came back to me saying we don't factor like that. We only cross the bridge when we come to the bridge. We don't really look at the other side of the bridge right now because we don't have the
no planning was required.
We don't have such planning. What you want, you ask for it. If you are coming 40 flats, we'll give you a connection for 40 flats. But it's quite time. These are quite tough because going after people, running after people, and you are also being watched by your management to see how successful you are in getting your connections and everything. And that really, they look at your performance in that manner. They gauge it like that. Okay, these guys capable of getting the connections. So these are things which you really have to go and stand before the peon. And there's no harm in standing there. I'm used to all this. I don't have ego because I was in Hindustan Lever going to all petty colors and trying to sell all the soap and other stuff in front of the what do you call it, panwala and all that. So I don't have that ego at all. Because that Hindustan Lever experience gave me the ego busting was already there, and even otherwise I don't have an ego even from the school days. So this went on, and finally from Sansandalyam it went up, and I was with the company. We started the first flat in Trivandrum. Then up to 1994, this is the first company which went public, and it became SI Property Private Limited. That time it was two companies, and the partners had to have a shift in their roles. And then they called me saying, "Are you keen in joining us or joining the Public Limited?" I took up the choice of Public Limited, joined them. And after joining them, we went public and we were doing quite well. But then the recession set in, and the recession had a big toll on SI property because we had to pay a lot of dividend, and we were paying dividend despite not waiting for the first 2 3 years. In fact, we started paying dividend from the first year itself to ensure that the share prices are kept at very reasonable good level. And those dividends were all paid out of borrowed funds. So that borrowed funds which you have taken, which should have been parked for the promotion of a company, got stuck with the recession, and slowly the company went into almost liquidation.
But Raghu, your experience at that time was, of course, quite primitive, but was it also corrupt and inefficient at that time?
The corruption part of it still was there. There's no doubt about it, because the may not be the level of corruption is not that huge. But even then, those days with that money, if you look at it now, you may look at it small. But despite that, the corruption levels are not as bad as what because they were telling me that compared to Chennai, and we were having our companies operating out of Chennai and Karnataka, and they were saying that the corruption levels in those places are far higher than what in Kerala. So this is nothing you can go in. Because those days the corruption is basically because the exemption orders are given by the ministers. So all guys will queue up at the minister's office to get more FAR, get more number of floors, exempted from car parking and all this sort of thing. So everybody will be running after the concerned ministers. And those days, these portfolios are held either by the Muslim League or subsequently in the LDF will be held by the Marxist Party. CPM.
So looking at the construction in Trivandrum today of apartments, you should really be considered a pioneer because you started it all.
Yeah,
and made a successful business out of it.
When we started, there was nobody there, except that there was a Bombay apartment which was built early in Vardhikar. I remember that. Maybe there are not much of that. I don't think there's any apartments during those days being professionally launched by any group. So that was the beginning, and then probably picking the whole the exercise of the success of a project lies only in the location. So it was location which was selling. So ours was Javanagar, Kaudia Manor was in Javanagar, Cotton Heights, the next project was in, as you know, in Vardhikar, and then Wilcrest Point was in Golf Links Road. So it was location which was selling. So it is
very fast. It expanded very fast in Trivandrum.
It expanded when I think up to 1994, it was just slow. After the 94, 90, after the recession of 95, 96, more builders came into the game. And a lot of players came in, and even fly-by-night operators started coming in. And the market. So when we went into liquidation, the company had formed a company called SI Property Kerala Private Limited. They thought that they might get into liquidation, so it's better that they keep every state will have a separate company, and they made me the managing director at the time. And that's the time the liquidation proceeding started. So they got worried and they told me that we have to exit from this company, and probably we have to. So I said, I don't have the money to buy this company. So they said, no, we'll transfer all the liabilities and the assets, what you have with you. Along with that, we'll give you the liabilities. You clear up the liabilities. And I started my career from there as an entrepreneur from June 1st, 2000. I became an owner of a company. But it was not an easy job at all. Because all this while you have
actually, there was a big rise. There was a big rise from a sales manager to the owner. And that was really remarkable.
That when I joined SI Property, I became regional manager. And when this liquidation happened, I was vice president of the company. So that's the time when it went into liquidation. Then from there, his managing director came in just out of the blue. And I thought that Mr. Kamal Gupta, who's the man responsible for it, will be there with me because he's such a brilliant guy and who knows the subject very well. But unfortunately, because the liquidation, he couldn't hang on. So he transferred the whole thing out and sent his shares and transferred the shares to me and to my wife. And from there, both of us have to struggle to start the company with. And luckily for me, none of the staff left me. All the staff which were with me from 1984, they were continuing with me. Even I left and joined SI Property, they continued with me. When I came to SI Property Kerala, also they continued with me. So they knew the whole story, and they know how the business is. So, but I've seen the ups and downs. When you're doing well, Srini Jada, when you're doing well in life, during New Year, it's a very easy thing for the thumb rule. During New Year, you'll get so many cakes and diaries coming to you. So many cakes and diaries. You can't keep the numbers. So when we went into problem and we got into liquidation, I remember that day I was sitting in the office and it was near. I hardly remember I got only 2 or 3 diaries and maybe 1 or 2 cakes. Every guy disappeared. Every supplier disappeared. Every contractor disappeared because you doesn't matter. You are finished. So your chances. Why should I put my cards in your on you? Because you are not.
So Raghu, what you are saying is your own struggle got you interested in the development of Trivandrum. Is that how it went?
Not only
because
that,
you faced so many difficulties, etc. So you decided to think in terms of reforming the system. Is that what you tried to do?
One of the reason could be that. Another reason is that, Cheda, is that when during the time, a lot of good people and there are bad people. Some people you don't even know, they come and stand by you to support you and say, "Don't worry." So I remember that when SI Property exited, 3 projects were left incomplete. I was getting offers from very good companies all over India to join them. But my conscience did not permit that because all the people who bought flats in those companies only knew me. They don't know Kamal Gupta or Abraham Thomas or anybody else. So I felt that it is not appropriate for me to leave a company. So I said, let me complete this project. So I called a meeting of all these people who bought the flats in their respective projects. And then I can see the hue and cry, the fire, crying. And those people are very nice to you, started becoming nasty to you. They were very angry. They were blowing their top. But there are some who came to your rescue by saying, "Look, he came and told the truth. Why not we stand by him and let him find a solution?" So I said the only solution is you people have to chip in extra money to complete the project. So I said you open an escrow account and let us start looking at. That's how the whole thing started. But here you could really find out who is your real friend and who are the real friends who stood by you. And there are friends who said they are friends. And they were the worst enemies you can ever have in a group.
But many people who came after you grew even bigger, didn't they?
Very much. They grew bigger because I went into a cocoon. Because I was very scared to do more projects. Because I started thinking that I'll do only one project by project. I went into contracting to keep my overheads up. So I need to have revenue to keep my staff, keep them salary. So I started picking up individual housing project, small houses, do hospitals. And my biggest break came in when the KIMS Hospital gave me the expansion of KIMS Hospital, which was the biggest contract which I got during that period was 10 crore, which is big for Dr. Saudullah and EM Nadeep were responsible for that. They really stood by me saying that we know him, he can deliver. And that's how I built up the KIMS Hospital, which was 5-story building, was made 11-story building, a running hospital with a big challenge. That was the biggest change. And from that day onwards, we are very much into turnkey contracts. We did the turnkey job for Captain Kishan Nair in the Leela Info Park in the Techno Park. We have done a lot of projects in Trivandrum for various people, including Muthoot one, the recent one we completed at Kaudia, the apartment. In addition to what we do, our real estate project, and now we have an interior division also. So these things all keep you going. But one thing I was worried because a lot of people came in. When the RIRA came in, when the Real Estate Regulatory Authority came in, it is something which really was necessary because if you look at the north in Noida and Gurgaon, a lot of people have taken for a ride, and there are a lot of things happening in Kerala also. So after this came in, the market has improved now. We are very happy that RIRA has come in. The confidence level of the buyers have gone up. The confidence level of the financial institutions have gone up. The confidence level of landowners have gone up, and the systems of these builders have really improved.
I remember you saying at some stage that builders were considered to be, not so respectable at that time.
No, earlier it used to be contract.
Feeling that there is a lot of hanky-panky in building business.
They will always say the contractors are very, very slimy guys. That time builders was not there. Finally, builders also found a place in that. They will say, no, builders don't trust these guys. These guys will take you for a ride. So that name came up. But now things have started falling down. Fly-by-nights of operators have disappeared. And after the things have settled down, my children also grew up in between. My daughter was the first one to really come out, and she picked up a law degree and went to London and finished a UCL postgraduate degree in law. And then after that, my son finished his engineering. He joined me. Then later he picked up his MBA in family business from ISB, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Then later he got married. My daughter is an architect by profession. She finished her architecture from Trivandrum and did a conservation architecture from Belgium. So after the three took over the running of the company, I felt that I must stay back. I must step back and only mentor them. And thought that I will start diverting all my network connections and all that I have the time for the betterment of Trivandrum. That's how I started.
So that is how you got involved in the participation activities of the Trivandrum development.
Yeah, that's how. Because
how was it when you started it? Was there a lot of resistance? The government would have thought, what are these people wanting to do?
So there was a lot of resistance. When you start something, because when I was part of the Chamber of Commerce, I was the treasurer, I was the vice president, then I became the secretary. When I took up the presidentship, I felt that there is no doubt we have to look up to the welfare of our members. But the other option is also that we cannot be just looking, we must also look at the city as a whole. So that is how I felt that we must start getting involved in the development of the city. And what we have to understand is that, that when I started going deep into it, I found that there is no God. So this is the only city there is no godfather. You will not have any godfather. Whereas all other cities have got godfathers. Cochin has got godfathers. Calicut has got godfathers. So what happens is that when you can see the differences. When you have the UDF government coming to power, the focus is always in Kottayam, Pala, Cochin, Malappuram, Kozhikode and all that. That's how it's always happened, because that's where most of the MLAs come from, and that's where all the strong leaders are coming from. When it comes to the LDF part of it, the CPM, as you all know, their stronghold is Kannur. So they look at Kannur better. They look at Thrissur for that matter, for Palakkad that matter, and Trivandrum. So Trivandrum invariably was always neglected. After the reign of the royal family, where all the developments have happened, much developments have not happened in Trivandrum if you look at it. So when I put up the photographs of these the contributors to the growth of Trivandrum, like Sri Chitradhan Maharaja's portrait has been put up in the chamber. There was controversy when I decided to put up the photograph of Sir C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, who was the real man of the architect of the modern Travancore. Then we have G.V. Raja Kirimeni, who was the father of sports and tourism. Then the other entertainment industry was really promoted in a big way during those days by P. Subramaniam with the Maryland studio and the theaters. Then actually the electronic revolution and everything was brought in by none other than Sri K.P.P. Nambiar. So these are the 5 people's portraits which are kept in the chamber even today, so that to tell the people that we have not forgotten them, we have to be always thankful to these people for us to be here, that Trivandrum is still kept in the limelight. From there we started, we thought we'll start the journey from there. Then we realized that.
But how was the interaction with the government? The government did not resist it.
The government was not
public participation.
You are not a organization to reckon with. The chamber, they will call it chamber only for meeting when there's a budget. Discussion, or maybe there's a discussion on taxes and all that. They never call us for a discussion on any development issues, because we are not at all reckoned with. So we thought that it is high time we start putting up our force into it. So we started writing letters, we started doing press releases, and started giving out our views on various issues regarding development in the media. And that time there's only print media. If you remember, like I was telling you, during my the SI property days when things went wrong, lucky for me, I have to tell you this is because lucky for me of those days the channels were not as active as what they are today. Otherwise I would be behind the bars, because I'd be highlighted in the channels saying that SI property went bust. So those days, from that day till today, the channels have become very, very vibrant. And today the channels
but today the channels are supporting you in your activities. They are saying that this.
At that time, we had a long time. We took a long time to engage the channels individually. We called them across. We were calling the journalists across, and we have a one-to-one discussion across the table, make them understand what is this about. We are not going to be another organization that we will just say something and go away. But still, it was not acceptable to the political parties. So it went to the stage where, because Trivandrum has got so much of tremendous potential. If you look at it, we started deciding that we should not be only focusing on Trivandrum. We should be looking at the capital. We started calling this as a state capital region and brought in Kollam, Pathanamthitta, Nair, Kanyakumari, and Tirunelveli inside. So we started engaging those the business community in that area, saying that let us all work for this state capital region because it is going to be beneficial for you also. So they also found that.
Was there a proposal at one time that Trivandrum must have a new city, like in Europe you have old Vienna and new Vienna and things like that? Apparently there was a proposal to build an entirely new capital. Was there a proposal like that?
The city and all that, but I don't think it really worked out because those mayor, our mayor of Trivandrum was not very keen. It was brought in by Dr. Tharoor, who wanted to build the city and all that. But having a new city was not on the cards at all because, to be frank, the Trivandrum master plan, as on today, which is official plan, as on today in the records, is only dated back to 1971. We don't have a master plan the modern plan till today. We only have intermediate development orders being released by the Chief Town Planner's office. So today you don't have a clear-cut vision where Trivandrum can be in next 10 years, next 15 years, because there's no master plan. And this is where we thought we should start working towards that. And now we are working on that. But here the point is that what I would like to make a point here is that when we started talking about this, the political parties were just thinking that these guys are simply going to waste their time. They're just talking. So then we thought we'll start forming a group. So we thought maybe the chamber alone may not work. So I started thinking of a name and finally came up with a name called Awake Trivandrum. And we thought that we'll bring in all organized.
That was an initiative of the chamber or of another group?
No, it's the initiative.
Awake Trivandrum was another group.
No, it's the initiative chamber. But before while we were having the chamber quite active, there was another group which was silently doing a lot of work, lobbying work and all that. That was a group called Trivandrum Agenda Task Force, which was headed by Sri B.K. Matthews, who's the founder and chairman of IBS. And it was supported by Chris Gopalakrishnan and Johnny, Muthu Johnny, and Srikanth and Najib and all those crowd. So we all part of it. There are only 15 of us in that group called Trivandrum Agenda Task Force, where all the stakeholders of Trivandrum were there. And we were in fact, before all this started, we used to meet regularly and we try to talk. We talk about what we can do for Trivandrum. Like we were looking at whether we can do a similar one, what the Bangalore Agenda Task Force was doing. But unfortunately, that we couldn't do much because we couldn't go far from that. We were only doing probably lobbying or probably calling up officials and trying to tell them and make them understand.
But was there a conflict between private enterprises and public enterprises? Wasn't there a socialistic approach and people saying that why private sector should come into this? And the airport, of course, is probably the major project which went into private sector.
No, that's why I was saying.
Can you tell us about the development of the airport?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you. When we brought in Awake Trivandrum, we called all organizations and we started adding them. And till today, we have about 100 organizations under Awake Trivandrum. Organizations, not individuals. And that is the time when this privatization of the airport was being contemplated. We saw the paper news saying that airport privatization is coming and 5 airports are being considered. So in that 5 airports, Trivandrum was not there. So we thought we need to really start lobbying for it, and we started meeting people. And we started contacting Sri Suresh Gopi, who was MP, and he also went up and met the concerned like PM and other people. Then we started talking to the civil aviation people in Delhi, and through our contacts in Delhi, then we are having our friends like Sri Amitabh Kant and all that, who was part of Kerala cadre, and he was in Delhi as CEO of Niti Aayog. All of them together really reluctantly worked for us, but thinking that nothing will happen in Kerala. But finally, they were able to bring Trivandrum into the privatization basket, and that's how the privatization really came in. And when the tenders were floated, we were looking who were coming in, and we didn't know that Adani or the GMR was there, Adani was there, GBK was there, Kerala government was there. So we were scared that if Kerala government gets it, we'll have another KSRTC happening. And Kerala government came up with KL called Trivandrum International Airport Limited, like CL. But Kerala government tried. They went and met the government. They were trying to ask the government to give them a weightage of 10%, and they were given weightage. So we thought the last person who quoted a figure, and this guy gets a 10% weightage, and he exceeds that, they'll get the contract. But as things went, the Kerala government was only 135 or 36 rupees, and the Adanis are quoted at 168. So even the 10% weightage did not take them through. So that's how Adani backed the contract of operation and management. But that was
this recent meeting that you had, the summit that you had, what impact did it have on the owners? Because the private sector may not worry very much about the public opinion because they always go for their own business interests. So, did they cooperate with you? Did they take up your questions?
No,
Are these likely to come about?
Just give you a small background, because when we took up this matter, when this contract was awarded to the Adanis, the government had gone to the court to challenge that. So we went to the court also, as the chamber went to the court and also joined issue there, saying that that contract, which is a tender document, and somebody is bringing back the contract, the government cannot challenge the contract. So we fought the case in the High Court, and ultimately the verdict was in favor of the Adanis, and the government went to the Supreme Court. So there the things were standing there. So we, at the time when we were coming in, we had come out with a half-page ad in the papers that why we must have why this airport should be privatized, and the reason for that. We came out with a big ad in all the papers and even hoarding boards in the city. From there, we started the journey about the airport part. So I need to tell in between something which has happened. During the time, while we were doing all this, then we thought, okay, now the airport thing is coming up. That's the time in 2019, November, December, the local body elections were called. So we thought that, that we were talking to all the political parties, we saying about Trivandrum development agenda. They were not very keen. And we decided that we will float a political party called Trivandrum Vikasana Munnetram. And we'll fight the local body elections. So we didn't know where to start from. So we are not used to all this. So we all the like-minded people came together, TATF came together. So all of us pulled the fund. We said, we will not collect public funds. We will only fight the elections. So that is the time when we thought, how do we get the councillors? We require candidates. So that is the time when Maniampula Raju, who is also part of the Lake Trivandrum, and Nandulal, who is also a film actor, both of them suggested, why not we put an ad in the paper for that? So Maniampula Raju suggested the title, Ningakam Avam, councillor, or ad. So that ad came out of the papers. We were flooded with applications from all over the place. And we didn't know whether we should find all the 100 seats or not 100 seats. So we decided, after a meeting, we'll confine that to 14 or 15 seats. So we confined to 15 seats. We funded all these candidates from our kitty. They were given all the necessary materials for campaigning, vehicles, everything. And we got 7%. We never won. But 2 places we were second, but we never won. But we made our point very clear that the whole intention of this exercise is to prove the point that there are people, a group of people who are going to question about Trivandrum development, and if political parties don't correct their ways, this particular group will be fighting the assembly elections also. So that was the message we sent.
No, but nobody won. None of your candidates.
No, they came. We know we won't win because the chances are.
Then you gave up. It is not taken forward.
Why we didn't take it forward? Because we were not keen to make it into a 2020 model. Because our intention was to bring it to the notice of the political parties that they need to really take us seriously. So when the assembly elections came in, they all came to us to say they came to us saying, can we work together? So we said, we don't work with any political party, but we have one demand. Our demand is that your manifesto must carry Trivandrum development agenda. And all of you must show us the agenda so that we need to really be sure that you are really serious about it. So every political party came with the agenda to us, showed it to us, and we really supported that and said that we don't intend to put up any candidates anywhere because our intention has been achieved. So you can go ahead and fight the election. We are not going to take sides with any particular candidate. Our intention is only to see that the best candidate who will protect the interests of Trivandrum wins. And that's how we didn't want to be, we didn't want to be a political party at all. Because we just wanted to really highlight that there is a group of people who are going to watch you, and if necessary, they may come into the political array, a political field to challenge you guys. That's
Has it happened in the case of 2020? All political parties objected to the idea of a group like that coming to power, didn't they?
It was
all parties objected. Then they started cultivating them. So
it was all confused. When I was fighting these local body elections, all my good friends in the Congress and all my good friends in the BJP and also the Marxist Party, they started shunning you. No, they don't even smile at you. When they look at you, they look the other way and go away. They think that you are going to be a nuisance, a threat to them. So that is a total different area that they have a different. They don't
No,
want
but somebody like Aam Aadmi Party succeeded in Delhi. Couldn't you take that model?
that model can work better. But here the question is that first of all, the people of Trivandrum must take ownership. What lacks in Trivandrum is that most of the people of Trivandrum lacks ownership to the city itself and to the region, because everybody know that we have to do something for the city, but nothing happened. You just see what happened. We were going down day by day. The airport authority, the flight was running it. The flights were going down. The fares were going up, and the employees were never making any noise. The public was not making any noise. And suddenly, when privatization came in, the employees started crying. They're making noise, and they're going on satyagraha. When all these guys kept quiet, the duty-free shop was closed for 5 years. And when after the Adani took over, we also had to go to the Commissioner of Customs and Central Excise and also support them to see that we get the duty-free shop back into Trivandrum. During this fraud period, 40% shift of passengers have happened from Trivandrum to other airports, especially to Cochin. 40% shift.
No, because it became expensive. Trivandrum became expensive and at the same time poor service. How could you combine those two?
Fundamentally, because nobody was interested in the airport. No, not a single soul is interested. No government is there. Trivandrum used to for Trivandrum, political parties used to be, this place used to be only a interim rotting house. People come here, they come to the assembly, meet in the assembly, go back. The local MLAs and MPs very, very rarely could do anything, except when Dr. Tharoor came in, he was accessible. We were using him to the large extent because we could make him understand. So he was getting involved in every issue we took up with him. Then we had Suresh Gopi coming in as an MP. He was very supportive and took up a lot of matters. Then now we have Britas coming in. He's also very supportive in this. And so suddenly we've been able to engage all these people to the level because they started realizing that this is a group which means serious business. And that is how.
So that's a new model in the sense that you take the initiatives and get involved politicians into that. Yeah, but the politicians will not get any credit for that, and therefore they may not be interested. They would rather do it in the name of their party. Isn't that a problem?
No, that's not a problem. Because here I'll tell you, when we started looking where to start from where, then the COVID set in. When the COVID came in, we said, okay, let us start looking at the projects which have been available in Trivandrum. So we started doing a lot of, every Saturday we used to meet on the Zoom meeting, and from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, we do a review and all. So we have youngsters, retired people, professionals, everybody. We have about 50, 60 people every week, every morning, Saturday morning in the breakfast meeting in the Zoom call. And we started looking at all the various projects. So we zoomed in at 125 projects which were having central clearances, central allotments and support, and also state government, plus jointly, plus PPP model. When we started listing the projects in various sectors, it can be tourism, infrastructure, into what you call education, medical care, everything. So we started listing everything out. And while listing it, we suddenly found that while totaling up the projects, we were really astonished to note that there are 32,000 crores of work happening in Trivandrum. And that is the time when people started looking up. We had to go and tell the MLAs and MP. For example, I can tell you in Kovalam, we started doing it constituency-wise. For example, if you go to the parliamentary constituency, 22,000 crores is their work is happening in this Trivandrum parliamentary under Shashi Tharoor. And you can say another 10 or 11,000 crores is happening in Sri Arul Prakash's constituency. Then if you go by the assembly constituency-wise, the highest allocation of projects happening is in Vizhinjam, maybe because of Vizhinjam port also. 9,400 crores of work is happening. And after that, you find another about 4,000 odd crores, 4,500 crores of work is happening in the new corridor, the IT corridor, that's Kadakuttam. And then Trivandrum, you have...
Raghu, this Vizhinjam project, why has exploded like this? This kind of movement was not there. The project was approved and work had started. Where is the origin of this new movement against Vizhinjam Airport?
The Vizhinjam project issue is definitely something which has been probably scripted by somebody, because as you know, even when we have the Kudangalam project, when it was nearing completion, you found that a lot of people came in and started really attacking the project, and ultimately, the project came through, and there was bargaining and all this. In Vizhinjam project, what happened is, to a large extent, government is also responsible, because there were fishermen who were affected by the Oki and the storms and floods and everything. So they were all affected. Their dwellings are fallen down. Most of them are staying in warehouses and rented
So you
houses.
think their grievances? You think their grievances are genuine? You think
No,
so?
the grievances of the fisher folks are genuine. There's no doubt because they are. But unfortunately, here this became an issue because I don't think a church, a parish, or diocese should be taking the fishermen's cost for the instead of taking their cost of rehabilitation, they have started taking onto the project. Here, the bargaining is starting. This is where I felt that it's not right because you, as a spiritual leaders, you have a right to see that your subjects who are believers of your church should be looked after. There's no doubt. But
But is there a meeting point? Do you think this project will come through?
the project will definitely come through because there is no doubt about 4,000 crores have been expended till date. 1,400 meters of breakwaters have been completed. As you know, the season is going to start for construction will be from October to next March, May. So it is very important that this particular agitation gets solved or probably sorted out before the end of the month because we will be losing the most important period for carrying out the construction that is between October and next May because this is a golden period for us to finish the project. Because the whole problem comes in when the minister said that the project will be ready and the project will be open. The first phase will be opened by next December or September or December. Now that is the time when people use this occasion to really bargain. And I'm quite sure because I got a lot of figures coming in, which I forwarded to the central government. We have written a letter to the central government saying that about 11 crore rupees are coming into various accounts. And we have furnished the account details also, saying that please find out whether this money has been used to sabotage the construction progress of Vizhinjam project. This has to be inquired into. So we felt that that I think there's a big group with this in anything in Kerala, for example, anything in Trivandrum. Like you take, for example, Sri Yusuf Ali was saying that when he was doing the Lulu Mall, world over he's been doing malls. He has no problem. When he did the mall in Trivandrum, it took him 2 years. There was 2 years delay on account of the litigation he had to face from the pseudo environmentalists, RTI blackmailers, and anti-development forces. And for that, he had to spend almost 500 crores in excess for completing the project because of cost escalation. So these things are bound to happen because whenever big projects are in play, people definitely use this. The pseudo environmentalists is one category. The RTI blackmailers is the second category. And in Vizhinjam, there's another category because they have all been funded by people who have got interest in ports in Colombo, Salalah, Dubai, and other places because this port is going to be detrimental for their business. And when they are very keen to see that this port is abandoned, so that the Colombo port, which is Chinese, is definitely behind this. We strongly believe that the foreign forces behind this, and we.
So even the present agitation, you think that there may be other interests, not simply the welfare of the people.
There are other interests. There's no doubt about it because now the welfare of the people, government has already addressed all the issues. Government has 3-4 meetings already. CM has called a meeting and has agreed to all the proposals except for 2 things. The CM has agreed saying that all the rehabilitation things will be taken care of immediately and officers will be put on the job. The 2 things which CM said I will not be able to consider is the subsidy on kerosene, which he said they cannot take up that because it's going to cost them more than 250 crores of rupees to the state exchequer, which they can't factor in. And the the last one he said is that at no cost the port construction can be stopped. There's no question of stopping the port construction just to see that rehabilitation takes place. And the demand of the agitators headed by the church is that they want another environmental study to be conducted, which is absolutely absurd because the environment study has been done, the coastline study has been done, and every 6 months there is a committee which is coming down to this place of construction and watching it and giving the report back to the NGT every 6 months. And they are coming down. There is an environment committee, coastline committee. They all come here and really do all sorts of studies, see whether is there any impact being created by the construction into the neighboring areas. And they found that there is nothing detrimental or there's nothing alarming that needs to be really looked into. So they have been given. The last report is also there on the website. They have cleared the port. I don't think any environment. Now the question is that the port, the church committee, the parish, wants another committee with their people involved with it. They want people from their community, and they will name the other members of the committee who needs to do the study. None of these members they are talking about has got any experience in environment science, or whether it's on oceanography or anything. They don't have any experience. They are all people who do, they are all basically people who come to the television channels and keep on talking. Talking the channel, you need not have any expertise. You need to only have the capacity to talk. That's what we do.
Lack of expertise is an advantage. But coming to the golf course, what is the situation now? It has not improved definitely, but a lot of money has been spent.
The Trivandrum golf course is one of the oldest golf courses in the world. As per whatever records we have there, this course is supposed to be been there from 1850 onwards. We are probably
even before Calcutta, even
after Calcutta. I think after Calcutta we are the one who came in. But I think after looking at the records, when I say it's the oldest, means I'm talking in terms of the 9-hole course, not the 18-hole course. And here we are probably before the Americans started playing golf. Random people were playing golf. Trivandrum Golf Club was there. So from 1850 we were going, and we were 1893 the pavilion building had come up. Those records are there with me, and we have dug up all the past records from the archives. Now we are doing the documentary and also doing the history of the club, which will be printed also. But in the process, we found that.
No, but this time you have so much money; it has been allotted thanks to various people who found the resources. But what's been done there does not seem to be, satisfactory. So where is the problem?
No, actually, the problem here is that when the golf club was taken over by the government, we had to go to the Supreme Court and get it back. After we getting
yes,
we wanted to solve the problem. We gave it to Sports Authority of India to take up, and they came forward after God was made an Olympic game. So they came and took it over for 33 years lease. During that period, we were going to Delhi, meeting various people, and at a time, Suman Villa was the Joint Secretary Tourism, and one of the meeting he mentioned that there is a funds for God tourism. Are you interested? So we said definitely we are interested. So he said give a proposal, and Sri Jyotilal and us gave it to Kitco, and from Kitco we gave the proposal for a 25 crore proposal, though we wanted only 10 crores. But by the time when these funds were about to be allocated, it was already March. So the minister said instead of making the funds lapse, let us give the whole money to this Trivandrum golf course. And out of which 50% was transferred, 12.3 crores or 12.4 crores was transferred. But it took almost 3 years after the transfer of the work to start, because red tapeism, government problems, and after that. So we started the work only by 2020 September. When we started the work in 2020 September, because this work is now being done by SAI because they have the funds and got nothing to do with the golf club. Golf club is only allowed, we are only there to play and use the facilities. So what happens is that SAI has given the work order to CPWD. CPWD is hired, was putting out tenders for finalizing the consultant. They got the consultant. Then the consultant gave the tender documents, so they put up another tender notice and they found the contractor also. So after filing and firming up everything, then the funds was transferred to CPWD and work started. So the work started in September 2020. Actually, it should have been over by 6 months according to the contract, but it went on and on because in between what happened is that we were having problem with as you know, in Kerala, geology department, you are unable to get the earth, you are unable to get the sand because a lot of things require geology clearance and all that. So, okay, maybe 6 months we thought will be one.
You are a geologist yourself.
Yeah. I went to the geology department, met them and made them understand that this is a government job. Nobody's taking, but they are steering that the earth which is being brought is being after raising the hills. So I said, look, you issue the permit, we will take the earth from places where you have issued permits. After doing all this, we brought in then some of the earth had pebbles and also the problems were there. But anyway, we started the planting and all that, and the contractor brought in all the workers and got the work going.
So you think it will be completed very soon? Is that your expectation?
No, the point is that when it came to the level of completion and the greens are all ready, a virus attack came in. And this virus attack started creating havoc. So there's another option. So we brought in experts down, and the experts found that the only way is that take off the green once again, relay it, and the fairway now you can keep on doing patchwork and get it completed. All the machineries have come now. Yesterday also 3 missionaries have come. Virtually about 1.5 crores worth of machinery has already come to the golf course. Now what is required is that the greens have to be done. We are waiting for the sand. Unfortunately, we are not getting the sand. And if the sand is brought in, it should be tested for pH value. Once the pH value is tested and found okay, then the sand comes in. We are going to have the carpet grass coming in, and we'll have the carpet grass on the green, so that if things go well, we should be able to open up the course by 1st January of 2023.
Okay, that is very optimistic because what we have seen in the past, I don't think it is going to be so easy. And I think it's a very specialized project, and I don't think we have enough people to.
It is definitely a specialized project, but the problem here is that unfortunately CPWD has no experience in golf related work at all.
They may not have heard of a golf course before.
They have never heard, so they are only depending.
Anyway, we are running out of time. But what is your next project, and what has been your most important achievement in this whole process of 30 years or so?
The achievement is that we have been able to bring in a lot of sense of ownership among the youth and among the people of Trivandrum, and people look forward to you for a lot of help. So you get a lot of calls every day. So we are able to ignite the spirit of ownership among the people, among the youth especially, because we are talking and engaging the youth to a large extent.
Of course, we are not talking about golf course now. We are generally talking about development of.
No, I'm talking of development.
As far as the golf course is concerned, it was considered elite, and then people were objecting to that, and there was a huge issue. But at least we got over it because of the new arrangement. But generally in Trivandrum, what do you think has been the biggest achievement? This awareness is one thing, but what are you going to plan now next?
You see, the next one we are now in the process of doing after the airline summit, TVM&U. We got the thing called TVM&U to bring in ownership on people, and that was coined by none other than Sri Raghuchandran, who's supposed to be one of the top advertising guys, who was also part of the team which coined the word God's Own Country by Walter Mendes. And Raghuchandran incidentally is from Trivandrum. He's very passionate. So he's the one who did Incredible India and India Shining campaign. So he designed this logo, TVM.
But that was an old central government tourism campaign, Incredible
No, Raghuchandran was part of it. But he's come on board on TVM&U to promote Trivandrum in large way. So he's the one who's helping us out in coining the thing and in coining the logo and everything.
Trivandrum&U is a private enterprise, is it?
TVM&U is an enterprise which is being promoted. I will say it's part of the Awake Trivandrum promotion campaign.
So you are all part of it. You're all part of it.
All of us are part of it. And TVM&U, we have now everybody on board. We are keeping everybody informed what is happening in Trivandrum and all those things. Everybody is kept aware. Everybody in Trivandrum now knows that what is happening because we have paper cuttings being sorted out every day. These paper cuttings are taken and sorted out and being posted to every group to keep them aware of what is happening in Trivandrum. That is going on for last almost more than a year now. And I think, Chetta, you also must...
So in other words, to summarize, what you have done is basically creating an awareness and also moving the government in certain directions.
No, not
that.
Like
I think you can be proud of that.
No, there are three things. We have taken a decision that there will be three agencies which will be working for the development of Trivandrum. One is the Trivandrum Chamber of Commerce Industry, who will engage the government and the media for the purpose of promoting Trivandrum. We have the Trivandrum Agenda Task Force, which will be engaging the officials and bureaucrats and talking to them and making them understand the language of development of Trivandrum. Then we have Awake Trivandrum, where we have lower level people working, youngsters going to various offices and follow up all the projects which have been lying there, files not moving. We are going and pushing the files. We are going and meeting the concerned officials. We are making things happen. And so that that we have told our boys and girls that we are not here to find fault with the officials or find corruption in the officials. We are only doing our job of pushing the projects and go ahead and do the pushing of the projects. So these three agencies are working together so that each territory is taken care of very carefully by Trivandrum Chamber of Commerce Industry, Trivandrum Agenda Task Force, and Awake Trivandrum. And now our next project after the Trivandrum Connectivity Summit, we are going to have the Trivandrum Vision. We are going to have Trivandrum&U 2035, which is a 10-year, 12-year vision of Trivandrum, which can happen and which will happen. And that is what we are planning to have, and we're going to have it in the month of January in Trivandrum. And before that, we are also looking at the possibility of trying to get the NASHCOM into Trivandrum, because Swiss Coalition felt that we can, after seeing our summit, he felt that we are so capable of even hosting the NASHCOM in Trivandrum. So that all those things will bring in investment into the city. We are also, now the airlines are talking to us. Every airline, now yesterday I got a call from the Tata Vistara vice president who's coming down Tuesday. He wants to talk to us. What is that we want? And what are the areas we can help? So everybody started calling you and talking and finding out. So we are also getting data and figures from Kollam, Pathanamthitta to showcase to them that these are the captive areas where business is there. You're flying from Cochin at 1,300 rupees to Bangalore, and you're flying from Trivandrum 8,000, 12,000 rupees. Why are you doing that? Why don't you put a flight here and get 4,000 rupees? You still make profit. Why do you want to fly 1,300 rupees in Cochin? So these are things which we are trying to educate them and say, change your flight and have a look at it. You'll find your flight will be full. So because nobody has been doing that sort of exercise till now. Even the airline CEOs who came for that summit, they were surprised that when we started talking about these figures and also about what is there for Trivandrum, what is the crowd. You see, everybody wants a load. Everybody wants economic viability. When we conveyed to them all this, they were really surprised that there is such a big potential in Trivandrum. So they said, we are definitely going to work on this, and we are definitely going to see that in the coming winter schedules and subsequent schedules. We'll make sure that Trivandrum is connected to a large extent to most part of the cities and probably in the international route also. So we are looking at it. We are working with everybody very closely. There's no doubt about it. We are not leaving.
We are run out of time, Raghu. I think we'll have to have a follow-up conversation after you have made some more progress. But thank you very much for sparing this time. I know you have many things going and it's very difficult to schedule you for a conversation. But I think what you have said is absolutely new information for most of us. And I hope it will generate more interest and Trivandrum will become a
with this
and people will be grateful to you for this initiative.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Raghu, for joining us today on this discussion. Thank you.
I hope this interview will bring more people to the fold of promoting Trivandrum in a large way.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.